I always thought my marriage was as bulletproof as my firewall, but that illusion shattered the day I decided to use my tech skills for something a bit more personal. It started with small changes in his behavior, the kind you brush off at first. He was more guarded with his phone, and his late nights at work became more frequent. One evening, after he fell asleep, curiosity got the better of me. I quietly reached for his phone. Using a little hacking know-how, I bypassed his passcode. What I found was a digital trail of deception, late-night texts, secret meetups, and photos that burned into my memory. There it was, in pixels and data, the undeniable truth. The next few days were a blur of anger, confusion, and tears. Confronting him was terrifying, yet necessary. His confession was a mix of apologies and excuses, none of which could repair the trust that was broken. I realized then that my expertise in technology gave me the power to uncover the truth, but it couldn't protect my heart from the pain of betrayal. The fear that came with this discovery was overwhelming. It wasn't just the end of our marriage. It was the realization that the person I trusted most was a stranger. This fear turned into a resolve to rebuild my life, with a firewall not just around my devices, but around my heart too.
In the world of corporate hustle, I prided myself on being a high-powered executive, a woman who could balance a demanding career and a stable home life. My husband, a charming entrepreneur, seemed to be the perfect match for my ambitious lifestyle. Our moments together were rare, yet I believed they were special. The day the illusion shattered was ordinary. I was in a rush, juggling calls and meetings, when I accidentally grabbed his laptop instead of mine. Racing against time, I opened it in the back of a taxi, only to be greeted by a stream of emails that were not meant for my eyes. There, amidst business proposals and client meetings, were intimate exchanges with someone who was not me. My heart sank. The emails painted a vivid picture of a double life, secret rendezvous, romantic getaways, all hidden behind a facade of late-night work sessions. I sat there, frozen, as the bustling city passed by my window. The realization hit me hard. The man I shared my life with was a stranger wearing a familiar face. Confrontation was inevitable. I remember the cold, hard edge in my voice as I asked him about the emails. His attempt at denial crumbled quickly under the weight of evidence. The aftermath was a whirlwind of emotions: betrayal, anger, disbelief. The fear in this discovery was not just about a broken marriage. It was about how effortlessly my life had been a lie. The fear of having loved someone who was nothing more than a facade haunted me. But in the ruins of this betrayal, I found a new resilience. I had survived boardroom battles, and now I was determined to navigate this personal crisis with the same strength and dignity.
As an artist, I've always had a keen sense for the subtleties in color, emotion, and expression. It's this sensitivity that led me to notice the gradual, almost imperceptible changes in my partner's behavior. He, a fellow artist, was usually an open book of chaotic yet endearing emotions. But suddenly there was a shift, a mysterious veil over his usual demeanor that I couldn't quite paint over in my mind. The discovery came on a quiet evening. I was rearranging my studio, a cozy space filled with canvases and the scent of oil paints, when I stumbled upon a small, hidden sketchbook beneath a pile of art supplies. Curiosity piqued, I flipped through the pages. Instead of his usual abstract sketches, I found a series of intimate portraits and writings, none of which were of or about me. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. The images were beautiful, yet every stroke of his pen felt like a betrayal. The writings spoke of passion and longing, a world where I didn't exist. Confronting him was like confronting a piece of art that you've always admired only to find it's a forgery. His apologies were a mix of artistic metaphors and tearful regrets, but they couldn't repaint the stained canvas of our relationship. The fear that gripped me wasn't just about losing him. It was about the trust in my own intuition, my own art. It felt like my ability to read emotions and expressions had failed me at the most crucial moment. The fear was also about the future, how to create art that was always so intertwined with love and trust when both were now in ruins. In the aftermath, my art became my solace, my way of processing the swirling storm of emotions. I found that with each stroke of my brush, I was not only creating new art, but also painting a new chapter of my life, one where trust and love would hopefully find their way back to the canvas.
I've always had an eye for detail, whether it's spotting a student's hidden potential or noticing when something's amiss. This observant nature of mine was what led me to uncover the truth about my husband's infidelity, a reality I never imagined I'd have to face. It began with small, almost insignificant changes: a hastily ended phone call as I entered the room, unexplained late nights at the office, and a general sense of detachment. My husband, always an open book, had suddenly turned into a mystery, his pages closed tight. The moment of revelation came unexpectedly during a routine school event. I was busy organizing a parent-teacher conference when I overheard a conversation not meant for my ears. Two parents, unaware of my presence, were discussing my husband's frequent visits to a certain cafe, always accompanied by the same woman, not me. My heart sank like a stone in a still pond. I confronted him that evening, my voice steady but my hands trembling. His initial denials crumbled under the weight of my calm, collected presentation of the facts. The truth spilled out in a torrent of apologies and confessions. The fear I felt wasn't just about the betrayal itself. It was about the reality that the life I had so carefully built was based on a lie. It was the fear of facing my students and colleagues, of maintaining a facade of normalcy when my personal life was crumbling. But in this storm of emotions, I found an unexpected strength. My role as a teacher had always been about nurturing and guiding others through challenges. Now, I had to apply those lessons to my own life, teaching myself how to rebuild, forgive, and eventually trust again.
Music was always my refuge, a world where I could express my deepest emotions through melodies and lyrics. As a musician, I had a network of connections in the industry, a tight-knit community that was like a second family. It was through this artistic and close-knit world that I discovered my partner's infidelity, a revelation that struck a discordant note in the symphony of my life. It started with subtle changes in his behavior, little things that seemed offbeat. He was a fellow musician, and we often collaborated on projects. But gradually, he became distant, his usual enthusiasm for our joint work fading into a silence I couldn't penetrate. The truth came to light in an unexpected way. At a small, intimate gig, a fellow musician, unaware of my ignorance, made an offhand comment about my partner's new muse. Confused, I pressed for details, and the story unraveled. He had been collaborating more closely with another artist, a relationship that had evolved beyond the professional. Hearing this felt like a sharp break in rhythm, a jarring pause in a familiar song. I confronted him after the gig, amidst our instruments and amplifiers, our shared passion turned battleground. His confession was intermixed with apologies and excuses about losing himself in the new music they were creating. The fear that washed over me was not just about the betrayal. It was the fear of losing my identity, which was so entwined with our music, our collaborations. It was the fear of facing the music community, where our lives were so public and our relationship was seen as a musical partnership. In the aftermath, I turned to my music for healing. Each note I played became a step towards reclaiming my individuality, my voice. The experience taught me the importance of separating my art from my personal life, of finding my rhythm independently. It was a painful lesson in trust and vulnerability, but it also led to a deeper understanding of myself as an artist and a person.
My life as a stay-at-home mum was a whirlwind of playdates, school runs, and endless chores. It was in the midst of this daily routine that I stumbled upon the heartbreaking truth about my husband's infidelity. The first clue was innocuous. An extra set of fancy coffee cups in the dishwasher, cups I had never seen before. My husband dismissed it as a minor purchase he forgot to mention. Then came the frequent, unexplained absences, supposedly for work emergencies. His phone, once left carelessly around the house, was now always within his reach, guarded like a precious secret. The day I found out was ordinary, just another busy Wednesday juggling household tasks. While doing laundry, I discovered a crumpled receipt in my husband's trouser pocket. It was for a romantic dinner for two at a high-end restaurant on a night he claimed to be working late. My heart rested as the pieces fell into place. Confronting him was like walking into a storm. His initial shock quickly turned to a string of apologies and confessions. It felt surreal, standing there in our family home, amidst the chaos of our children's toys and family photos, facing the shattering of our seemingly perfect life. The fear that gripped me was not just about the betrayal. It was about facing the reality of being alone, of raising our children in a broken home. It was the fear of having my daily routine, my safe and familiar world, turned upside down. In the aftermath, I realized that amidst the chaos of caring for others, I had neglected myself. This painful revelation became a catalyst for change. I began to rediscover my own strengths and passions, finding solace in the resilience that motherhood had instilled in me. It was a journey of healing, not just for me, but for my children, as we learned to navigate this new chapter of our lives together.
My life was a vibrant mix of studies, friendships, and a budding romance with someone I believed was my soulmate. We were both young, full of dreams and aspirations, our love story unfolding amidst the backdrop of campus life. But that idyllic phase came to an abrupt end when I faced the harsh reality of infidelity. The first hint that something was amiss came during finals week. My boyfriend, usually so attentive and supportive, became increasingly distant and preoccupied. His excuses were vague: extra study groups, unexpected assignments. I tried to brush off the nagging feeling in my gut, attributing it to the stress of exams. The truth came crashing down one evening at a campus party. I walked in, expecting a night of relaxation after a grueling week, only to find my boyfriend in a compromising situation with another student. The room seemed to spin, the laughter and music around me turning into a distant echo as I processed the scene before me. Confronting him was like facing my worst fear. His admission, filled with apologies and pleas for forgiveness, did nothing to ease the sense of betrayal. The realization that our relationship, which seemed so perfect, was built on lies, left me reeling. The fear and pain of this discovery were overwhelming. It was a fear of facing my peers, of attending classes, and walking through a campus that held so many memories of us. It was the fear of trusting someone again, of opening my heart when it was still raw and bruised. In the weeks that followed, I leaned on my friends and focused on my studies, finding solace in the routine of college life. The experience, as painful as it was, became a lesson in self-discovery and resilience. It taught me that sometimes love means letting go, and that the hardest experiences often lead to the greatest growth.